Welcome to Buckets, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, and this is your Best Bets episode for Tuesday in the NBA playoffs. We got 3 games on the slate. You can find everything that you need to know to bet these games in the award-winning Action Network app. Best way for you to track your picks. You get second information where the bets and money are coming in on. We've got our daily show, Green Dot Daily, set your betting agenda. We've got all of our great podcasts in there, including this podcast, which you can check out if you're just like, oh, what did they say about this? What dynamite pick did AC and Brandon give out on that episode? You can go ahead and check that out. On the Tuesday slate, we've got 3 games for you. The Atlanta Hawks take on the Boston Celtics. Celtics minus 10.5. Hawks total 229. Knicks take on the Cleveland Cavaliers in game 2. Cavs a 5.5 point favorite, down 0-1 in that series. Total is at 213.5. And the Los Angeles Clippers, after taking game 1, take on the Phoenix Suns. Suns in a must-win spot here. Minus 7.5, total 226. Joining me today, as I mentioned, analytics capper Albert Wynn. AC, how was your weekend?
Weekend was awesome, man. It was an amazing weekend of games. We saw dogs bark in the NBA playoffs, which was just always fun to see. Hopefully we see Kawhi KD for 7 games, because that's, to me, is the most interesting matchup.
NBA Futures analyst Brandon Anderson also joins us. Brandon, I had a miserable betting weekend. How was yours?
My futures side of the weekend went a lot better than my present side of the weekend. The game-to-game picks, not quite as good as the series and futures type stuff. But, game 1, for me, game 1 weekend, like Saturday, Sunday, all the game 1s, all the fresh data, that's about as good as it gets in the NBA. So we got to see a lot of great basketball games once we got the first couple ones out of the way. So, yeah, it was a good weekend.
Let's get right to it. We'll go around and we'll give our best bets for the Tuesday's slate. AC, let's start off with you. What are your picks for Tuesday?
Yeah, I have one game I really like. It's going to be Cavs early and often. So I'm going to take the Cavs first half minus 2.5.
Okay. Brandon Anderson, what are your best bets for the Tuesday slate?
Yeah, I'll start with that game. I like the under 213.5, and I'm going to play Darius Garland assists over in that one. Only a 1 in the first game. So I'll take the over 7.5. That's an alternate line, plus 125. And then in the Boston game, give me the Celtics to sweep. We went there before. I'm going back to the well, plus 190. But give me a little Jaylen Brown over 2.5 turnovers as well.
I asked Brandon what's his best bet for a game, and he gives me the next 3 games in the series. Is not surprising given how he feels about these teams. I've got 3 bets on this slate. I've got the Boston Celtics minus 10.5. I've got the over 213.5 in Knicks Cavs. And I'm going to lay the points with the Phoenix Suns minus 7.5 as well. We'll get into all these as we go. All right, so Brandon, let's start with you right now, because I think that's like the best place to start. Let's start with the Celtics sweep. So the Celtics absolutely destroy the Atlanta Hawks in game 1, completely dismantle them, hit on the over in that game. I'm staying away from the total in this one with where it's at right now. I do lean towards the over in this game. What would surprise you? Like, how does Celtics sweep not win? Give me that outcome and why you're confident it won't occur.
Yeah, I mean, I think the outcome is the obvious one. I think we expect Boston to win this game. When you're a double-digit favorite and you're laying the points on this one, you obviously, Matt, think that they're going to win handily here. I mean, look, they're up 30 at halftime of the first game. It was a walkover. It was a do some chores, finish up, take a little mental break. We got a long weekend ahead. That's the sort of game this was in game 1. And honestly, it's kind of what we thought, I think. Really, neither Jay even played that well. I didn't like comparatively to what they could. I don't think we saw a great game from Tatum or from Brown. We just kind of saw a team win, and we saw maybe a team loss as much as anything. Like, we saw the Hawks being what we feared the Hawks would be. Trae Young, I mean, my man just can't do it. He can't do it in the playoffs. At least he did. He did against, the Sixers and the MVP, but he can't do it against the Celtics and all their defense and Marcus Smart and Derek White and all the guys out there. Atlanta shot 5 of 29 on threes in this game. Those are both really bad numbers. The 5 is bad. Everyone's going to focus on the 5 and the bad percentage. The 29 is worse for me. You can't beat the Celtics if you're only getting up 29 threes. You're the underdog. You got to switch it up. You got to do something different. Quinn Snyder did that in the play-in against Miami. I thought he kind of catered to, okay, here's what we need to do against the Heat. And I just didn't see it at all. So I think Boston wins game one. Well, Boston won game one. They win game two. The pivot is game three. So doing the numbers here, the money line right now prices Boston at 81% to win game two. I'd honestly tick that up a little bit. So 85%. Effectively, we get to game three. I think we agree, right? Boston will be favored in game three, correct?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. So if we think Boston's favored, then that makes Boston a slightly better than 50-50 to win. So to get to the price at 190, basically the math goes something like this. 81%, we're already given that. Give it 56%, slightly better than coin flip. And then I still think the Hawks, I just think that they roll over in a game four. And I think that's a spot where we don't say, okay, another 56, 60%. I'm boosting that up to 75% or longer. I think we're 1, 2, 3 Cancun, Trae Young, trade rumors. We got a new coach. We got like this is not the team. This is not the long-term Atlanta thing. I don't think anyone thinks that. And if you go down 3-0 and get walloped by the Celtics 3 times, you definitely don't think that. And I think you're just done at that point. So this to me is saying, okay, I'm confident they win game two. This is my game two money line pick. But when they win that game, and I don't have to worry about the cover this way, then they go into Atlanta, they get the win. And I think I'm playing with easy house money after that. So I think the plus 190 is way too long here. I would put it closer to like 140 or 145, which is where it's at in some books. FanDuel 190. So I'll take the number.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing a preemptive money line parlay on the next 3 games.
Correct. Yeah.
We give me the Jaylen Brown turnovers cap.
Yeah, that was just he had 6 turnovers, I believe, in game one, and my man's base hand, it seems to be bothering him a little bit. It's a play on that. We saw last year also in the playoffs, the turnovers were an issue for Jaylen Brown. We remember, Matt, I lost a lot of money betting on Jaylen Brown, conference finals MVP and then finals MVP. And he had it, and then he fumbled the ball and fumbled the trophy and fumbled it all away. So over 2.5 turnovers, paying a little juice on it, but he had 6 in game one. He played well. He had the rebounds as well. He's going to get his buckets, but in the season, he had at least 2 turnovers, 54 to 67 games. So we're right there then with 2. Last year in the playoffs, 21 out of 24 playoff games, he had at least 2. He's over this and over half of the playoff games as well. So, and also the minutes were really up. I was surprised when I look back. Tatum played 41 in game one. Jaylen Brown played 38. And I was like, what are you doing? Boston, come on, long playoffs. Yeah, well, they hadn't really played for like a week, and they're going to have some time off and kind of coasting their way through. So you get lots of minutes, you get lots of Jaylen handling. He's just going to make some mistakes and, can't dribble a whole lot. So take the turnovers.
Yeah, his dribbling continues to be a little bit of an issue. You mentioned Trae Young. I'm going to look for an opportunity to take some sort of fade on Young. His points props all the way down to 24.5, which is low. Like, that's a low number. The books are already like on it as far as what this looks like with Trae in this matchup. You mentioned like he did it versus the Sixers and these other teams. Well, like, I could put this in pretty simple terms. Those teams play drop.
Yeah.
Like,
I knew it was coming.
The Celtics switch. This is in my cap on the series. That's why I was like, I have no idea. A lot of this is that if the Hawks could play differently, they might be live in the series. This is going to be a trend, and we'll talk about this in the weekend recap episode, which you can catch in the feed. If you can't play differently than you're intended to, if your best player is vulnerable to certain schemes, you're screwed. Like, you have to be able to adjust. DeJounte Murray needs to be the one not like leading this team right now. Like, if you're serious, if you want to win, DeJounte Murray needs to be your primary initiator, and you need to move Trae off ball, but they'll never do that. They'll never do it. I'm on the Celtics here. I'm laying the points with them. The biggest reason I'm laying the points actually is a trend that I found, which I actually am pretty excited about, to be perfectly honest with you. Game 2, you win the first one, you're a favorite at home. So in the playoffs, since 2003, you're at home, You won the first one and you're favored in game 2. If the line moves in your direction from game 1 to game 2, so you're a bigger favorite than you were in game 1, 54-12 straight up at 82%, 39-26-1 for 60% against the spread since 2003. If we move that and we go to since 2018-19, so the last 4 seasons, it gets even better. Like, we get way, way, way better as this goes along. Since 2018-19, 12-4-1 at 75%, 15-2 straight up. Like, this is the direction. So they were 10-point favorites at close of game 1. They're 10.5 currently. I think this goes to 11. The money's coming in on Boston, according to the Action Network app. So I like the Celtics here, minus 10.5. AC, what are your thoughts on Celtics Hawks?
It's Celtics or nothing. There's no way you can back the Hawks right now. Trae Young, if you extrapolate the last 7 games of his playoff, career, that's over a span of 2 different series, but he has the worst 3-point shooting percentage with that type of volume. I don't think that's going to flip or switch anytime soon. That's a really, really good Boston team that's zeroed in on stopping Trae Young. And if and when that Boston defense is going to take you out of the game, you're going to be taken out. So it's going to be up to the other guys that really need to step up and even make this a contest. So I agree with you guys. It's Boston or nothing.
Let's talk Cavs Knicks here. So I'll give my cap real quickly here first. Actually, let's start with you, AC. You like minus 2.5 first half for the Cavs. I assume this is down 0-1, the bounce back spot first half.
Yeah, I don't generally subscribe to, the flip-flop or the zigzag theory. But this series is a series that I've always thought it's going to go 7 anyways. So I don't think for this series to go 7, the Cavs can't afford to go down 0-2. Matt mentioned a really interesting angle when it comes to home favorites and being a bigger favorite the second time after a win. You could that's a very big principle of mine. Another one is the home favorite that lost game 1 and is still the same spread in game 2. And that's what we're getting here. The Cavs are going to be -5. So I think they're going to come out early and often and win that first half and cover the game. So I like both of them. To be honest, this was if you watch the game, it came down to just 1 or 2 possessions. Evan Mobley, who started the game with an awesome offensive rebound and then a dunk on Mitchell Robinson to tie the game 2-2. After that, he went, I have the stats right here. After that, he went 3 for 12. Isaac Okoro went 1 for 6. Karis LeVert went 1 for 7. So together, the 3 of them shot 6 for 26 from the field. I don't think that's going to continue here in the second game. And another thing that was a big Achilles heel for the Cavs in game 1 was their free throw shooting. They only shot 71% from the free throw line for a team that usually shoots in the 80s. So I think for those reasons, as well as, Matt mentioned it, a bounce back spot, and a must win, because I think the Knicks are pretty happy, pretty thrilled heading back to New York with 1 game already in their bag. So I think the Cavs are going to win first half, full game, first quarter, whatever it is, but I think they blow out the Knicks in game 2.
Yeah, so look, the zigzag was popular for a long time, and then obviously I think the books probably got sharp on it. And also just I think variance over time, like the league changes, 3-point variance. There's a lot of reasons to not necessarily go into that. You can't just go back and forth, but I think contextually the spots are important. In the playoffs, when you've lost the first game, in game 2, and you're favored at home, first half, 39-28-3 since 2003. That's a 13% ROI. So this is the way that this actually manifests itself beyond the trend, if you want to think about it in more logical terms, is, and this is a real thing, when a team gets a game on the road in those first 2 games, they've done the job. They got the split. It is exceptionally hard to overcome the effort that the other team will give. And so teams tend to back off in that situation to be like, all right, fine. We got the split. We're going back to our crib. We have home court. We've done our job. That's pretty typical. So I do think the Cavs probably win this game. I don't necessarily want to bet it because the matchup itself I was so wrong on. for a number of reasons. The bench, like everything Brandon said in the preview was right. Everything I said was wrong. Like just summation. Offensive rebounds mattered. The bench mattered. The Cavs offense was terrible. The rotations, like Bickerstaff got outcoached by Tibbs. Do you know what a low bar that is? That's really concerning. So I have a lot of concerns about the Cavs here. I think AC's probably right that it's a long series. I don't know. First half, I may go with you on first half. That seems like a safer play than the full game. That might be the way that I play this. Brandon, you got a couple of plays on this. Let's start with Darius Garland, over 7.5 assists. What do you like about that?
Yeah, so he had 1 assist in game 1, which is what we're at first cut mile is like, whoa, what happened here? So you got to pull up the potential assist chart. He had 13 potential assists. So that's first of all just like a red flag for the game in general. Like, okay, well, we missed a lot of shots off of Darius Garland assists or potential assists here. 13 is not a huge number. 13 is definitely down from where he was at in the season. I typically assume most players are going to hover around half of those that get converted. So that would imply like 6.5. That's still low for him. I like him to get the assist here. He had 5 turnovers first game, 1 assist. For the season, he averaged just under 8 assists per 36 minutes. Well, he played 43 minutes in game 1. So we're getting even more Garland than we were during the season. That would be a 9.4 per 43 minutes from the regular season numbers. But again, we don't need 1. We need to get to the number I'm playing here is 8. So the reason I like this is Garland's assists just have been high all season long. So if you look at games where we know the minutes are going to be there, we know because we haven't got there yet, but the Cavs have 4 guys. They got 4 dudes on their team, and that's it. They already went there in game 1. They already Tibbs the lineup in game 1. We don't have Okoro and Osman and whoever the other guys. We have no answers. So we know Garland, Mitchell, we know these guys are playing like every second they can breathe out there. When Garland plays at least 32 minutes this season, which he clearly will, he'll go way past that if we can. At least 32 minutes, 7 or more assists, 68% of the time. Now, that's the traditional line right now, the over 6.5. That's minus 150. I'm going to play the over 7.5 or 8+ assists at FanDuel. That's plus 125. So we need 8 or more. He's had 8 or more 61% of the time when he had 32 minutes this season. And again, we got 43 minutes in game 1. So we got an extra 10, 11 minutes of buffer here. I just think the assists are going to be there. And one other thing this year, he had 6 games, Garland did, where he had 4 assists or less. So I looked at, okay, what happened the next game? Did we get a bounce back factor? He averaged 10.5 assists in the game after those low ones, and he had at least 8, all 6 of them. So I just feel like it's a good bounce back. It's a good number for him. He's a great assist guy. And if I'm New York, I got to be thinking, okay, I don't really feel like Cleveland's offense can beat us if we just find some way to take Donovan Mitchell out a little bit. Can we just slow him down a little bit? And if slowing him down a little bit probably means trying to get the ball slightly more out of his hands, Darius Garland is the only other guy that can do stuff with the ball. So more chance for Garland, more assists. I think that's just the way I'm leaning here. So Garland over 7.5 plus 125.
I don't agree with you. I'm not gonna fade you because I value my money, but I am not gonna go with you on this. A couple of things. I had a friend pull this from Second Spectrum. They are dropping versus Donovan Mitchell because they're basically like, Mitchell can score all he wants. We're just not gonna let anybody else go. Like no lobs, no kick out threes, except Okoro, who will leave open, who should have played more, honestly. Donovan Mitchell we're going to play him in drop and just try and wear him down. Garland, it was half and half between drop and blitz. They're going to blitz him more. That's a preferred strategy for the Knicks. I think that they're going to get the ball out of Garland's hands. And if you say like, but doesn't that lead to assists? No, because like the initial, you can make the 1-2 trigger. It's that third pass. That second pass, rather.
Hockey assist.
The hockey assist is where that winds up in. It's like, I will like Mobley assists in this game. I will probably I'll look and see who's screened for him the most, but those are going to be the kind of things that I'll look for. On the other end, you might be right, because I can talk all I want about pick and roll, and it might just be like transition stuff where Garland's able to hit the over. So I'm not going to go against you. But coverage wise, I can't go there. I do like the over. Why do you like the under in this game?
Well, I want to hear the case for the over. I don't do a lot of totals here. Okay, well, I'll start. So I came out of game one thinking, okay, obviously I had to feel good about the Knicks. I was on them going into the series. And the easy takeaway for me coming out of game one is, okay, wow, the Knicks won the game and they didn't even play that well, right? They got the offensive rebounds, the bench dominated, but they shot 42%. They made 28% of their threes. Jalen Brunson, basically no impact in the first half with the foul trouble. He sat out a lot. It's very easy to take that and be like, well, man, the Knicks went on the road, got the win, relative ease until that late push by Cleveland, and they didn't even play that well. So, therefore, Knicks play even better. Oh man, the series is in trouble. That last part, I think, is the logical conclusion that actually might not be the right conclusion. Why do we think the Knicks are just going to shoot better? The Knicks haven't shot better the whole season. The Knicks don't shoot better. That's the thing that they don't do on offense. They do the other stuff. They don't turn it over. They offense rebound. They do all my four factors things except the shooting. I don't know if we can expect them to shoot better, especially because that's the whole thing the Cavs are good at is defending and not letting you shoot well and get good shots off. So I don't know if the Knicks do score a lot better. I think some of that is probably the Cleveland defense. And I don't really trust the Cavs to score after what I saw in game one. We saw effectively like a 1.5 man offense, kind of the stuff that you just said. Donovan's going to score. And especially if you're right, and if Garland is not going to have a big impact, man, Evan Mobley did not really put his stamp on the game. Jared Allen is a play finisher. Karis LeVert, I don't know if he can even be out there very much. He was not looking good. I don't trust either team to score a whole lot right now. So the pace was super low in the game one. Cavs are last in pace. Cleveland didn't top 27 in any quarter. So I know the line went down. The total went from 216.5 to 213.5. Normally that would trigger me to be like, okay, you got to come back the other way. And I'm going to guess maybe that's where you're on the over here. I just think it hasn't gone low enough. Yeah, we scored a 198 in game one. And I know you can't just push that forward to game two, but I got 90s vibes watching this. I'm watching 90s Knicks basketball, slow, grinding, every point matters. This is just, to me, this is a bet against both teams. This is a bet on both teams kind of being fraudy offenses, and I trust the defenses and the rebounding, the ugliness more.
Okay, here's the case for the over. It's a first off numbers play. I've got a 225. Think this should be over. Even if you take off like 5 points for a playoff game environment, that still gets me to 220. I got 7 points of differential there. I can't not play that at that number. However, there's other reasons to kind of go with this. So a lot of what I saw in game one when I went back and watched the Cavs, this is their first playoff game for a lot of those guys, Garland in particular, but a lot of those guys, it was their first playoff game. Evan Mobley. Probably they're going to shake that off and settle in. Got a little rattled. Mobley in particular was passive, especially on the glass. Like that was one of the reasons why the Knicks were able to get those offensive rebounds is Evan Mobley was just caught watching. He'll be better in those situations. Won't be as kind of like uncertain. He'll be more assertive. So will Darius Garland. Numbers wise, okay, a location effective field goal percentage of cleaning the glass. This is what you should shoot based off of where you got shots from. In those numbers, the Cleveland Cavaliers had the 4th best of any team in the game ones at 54.3, but the 14th best in actual. It's a 4 percentage point differential in EFG. The Knicks, it's even wider. They had 11th at 53.4, and they shot 46.6 on EFG. Like the Knicks might not have the offensive rebound advantage. The Knicks might also hit some more threes in this situation. The pace is probably gonna go slow. I'm not saying that this total should necessarily be over 220, but I do think 213.5 is way too low when you consider all of that. Plus, like, again, Cavs will play with more urgency. Maybe Bickerstaff will play the guys that he needs to. Like a lot of this is also just like him going away from Okoro. I mean, we're talking about this in a recap episode. Him going away from Okoro was a nightmarish decision. I think Cavs will hit more role players will hit more threes. I think the Knicks will continue to score because their offense legitimately is good. So I'll take the over here. AC, you're the tiebreaker. What do you think?
I would lean the over personally. I think just a regression spot on the threes. Again, threes are very high variance, right? But that first game, there were a lot of bricks. And I think you're right. Evan Mobley is going to have a bigger game in game two.
Finally, I will go ahead and on the Suns Clippers game, I'm going to lay the 7.5. this is going to be a half unit play for me. I don't think the number's right. I have this 5. I should have bet this yesterday. I was too cowardly without Paul George, and I did not bet it, and I regret that. I said in my series preview that this is a great matchup for the Clippers, with or without PG, that the series will go long. They win game 1. However, all the stuff that we talked about with the Cavs, same deal here. Like, bounce back spot at home. KD, Booker, CP3 are not going down 0-2. I don't think that happens. And if they're going to make sure that doesn't happen, again, the Clippers are very likely to be like, no worries, man. All yours, guys. We've got home court. Not worried about it. So I'm going to go ahead and lay the points in that one. If you want more on the NBA playoffs, make sure to check out our weekend recap episode. You can follow Analytics Capper Albert Wynn on Twitter at Analytics Capper. You can catch Brandon on Twitter at Wheaton Brando and in the Action Network app. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Our thanks to David Payne, our producer. Make sure to check out our weekend recap episode. We'll see you guys again tomorrow for another Best Bets episode for the Wednesday slate. Till then, let's get buckets.